Good evening and welcome to the Formula Racing League. It's F2 time. We are at the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain for round 7 of season 5 of F2 in the Formula Racing League. I'm Tom Kent in the commentary box giving you the details for tonight's event. We have a one-shot qualifying session followed by a 15-lap feature race that does include a mandatory pit stop and then an 11-lap sprint race to conclude the evening. So just waiting for some cars to go out onto the track. They'll all set their times exactly the same time as each other. That, of course, to save time from having to do it one by one. An update on the championship standings is that Don Argent is ahead by 50 points over second place Vintage, with Rosie third on 164. There are 6 rounds to go, including this one, 12 races in all. The remainder of the calendar sees F2 going to, or the FRL going to Shanghai in China, and then the DLC circuits. We expect Portimao and Imola on the 13th and the 20th of October. It's doubtful that Jeddah will be in time on the 27th, so I would think that it's going to be one of the other circuits that's already existing in the game before the championship concludes in Singapore on the 3rd of November. So here's Don Argent then, the championship leader, out on circuit now in the high-tech. He'll be looking to extend his lead at the top. As he makes his way through the loop and past Aintree. And then through Brooklands as he comes. 4 championship points on offer for the driver who qualifies on pole position for the feature race. That'll most certainly come in handy for Argent, who is on screen. Maggots and Beckett's. He's exceeded track limits, so he's out of the frame for pole position with that. We'll go to Swanshanks next because he's the top of the screen at the moment. Well, he's run wide. I think that was just a glitch actually with the game itself. I believe it may have just started to rain whilst these drivers were on their fast laps. They're all on the mediums, so I'd reckon that it's the mediums and the hards for Silverstone. So Swanshanks qualifies his Charus on pole position. That's 4 championship points going to him. So your grid for the feature race sees Swanshanks on pole ahead of Williams alongside. Then it's Rosie and Vintage on the second row, with KM and Winfield next up ahead of Will and Cookie. Hartnell and Ramsell round out your top 10. So Malky is ahead of Mielios, Scott ahead of Wild Dog, and then it's Scouse Cookie and Don Argent, who did not set lap times. Green Pies didn't either. Lucifer, Robin, Podge, and Marcel make up the grid for the feature race. We're back in a moment for the first race of the evening. Here we go then for the formation lap. There should be a formation lap before the race begins. And we'll find out who is starting on whatever tyre compound. Off we go then for the formation lap. So let's see who is starting on what. Everyone seems to be starting on the mediums. I think Ramsel may have disconnected at the moment. He's trying to get back in. So Swanshanks on pole with Williams next, and it's Rosie and Vintage will be aiming to close down that gap on Argent. 40 points it is for a feature race victory. 32 for second, 26 for third. The top 15 finishers do score points in either feature or sprints. The point systems are different though in between the two. 30 points for a sprint race victory, 24 for second and 19 for third. There are of course 2 championship points on offer for the driver who sets the fastest lap, but it must be inside the top 10 in order to collect them. So Swanshanks on pole. And there's Williams next up. And then we can see, I think Malky may have lost connection as well in the MP. So 21 cars on the grid then for the first race of the night. So we're ready for the start of this. Swanshanks, can he lead the field down into the first turn? Everyone is on the grid, so I'm not quite sure what the wait is all about. Hodge seems to have disconnected as well. So the Swanshanks on pole position. Williams alongside, and it's Rosie and Vintage. We should expect pit stops early on in the race. We're all seen to be ready to go now, judging by the movement of those cars. Those tyres must be getting colder and colder and colder. Well, Malky seems to have got himself back in. Hodge is just in his game.